I don't get it. I really don't. If you guys have followed wrestling Twitter in the past week, you would know two things that pretty much killed the entire business, according to those legends in the business, those analysts in the business, and everybody surrounding it. And those two big incidents are obviously Joey Ryan's dick, because Joey Ryan's dick creates controversy all over the world, no matter where his dick is currently located. And the fact that Lio Rush at his ZZW show, one night only, no-sold a wicked move off of a ladder through a table and then got right back up. So according to the business, it's dead. I mean, I don't even know why there's wrestling schools around the country right now. I think if I was running a wrestling school after seeing those two big things happen, with Mick Foley taking part in Joey Ryan's dick parade, I would just close up wrestling school, because apparently the business is dead. I mean, that's what everybody else is saying online. There's some people that really love the spots, and there's a lot of people getting really upset right now saying they killed the business. They killed the believability of wrestling. You know, wrestling fans are always the quickest ones to judge and say, wrestling's not fake. It's scripted or this. And we always have a punchline to somebody who calls wrestling fake, or they demean wrestling when it's something that we love. But the one thing that kills wrestling more than anything is wrestling fans. And I want to be very clear on this. I agree from the psychology standpoint of Lio Rush. If you guys haven't seen the clip, make sure to go watch the clip where Lio Rush was on top of a ladder, gets pretty much powerbombed through a table, and then gets right back up. Instantly. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that if he had gotten right back up, kind of hulked up, and then Ric Flair flopped on top of the guy for the 1 through 3, that probably would have been the greatest spot in the history of wrestling. But I'm not going to end it there. I'm going to go into Joey Ryan's spot, because Mick Foley and Joey Ryan were at a show where Mr. Sacco was going right at Joey Ryan, and then Joey Ryan jumps up in the air. By the way, I do have some Joey Ryan autographs available for sale if you guys want to buy them. Link in the description. Also comes with an ROH 14 DVD and some packs, but that's not the point of this video. Where Joey Ryan's dick attaches onto Mr. Sacco, and then all the other wrestlers come in, and then he does his move where he's like, whoa, whoa. But according to certain legends, especially guys like Jim Cornette, which I respect Jim Cornette. I think Jim Cornette is one of the pinnacles in the wrestling world. Without him, I don't know how far wrestling would have gotten. I mean, Vince McMahon is obviously number one, but Jim Cornette has played such a big role in a lot of wrestlers' lives, and I'm always going to be grateful for his contributions to the wrestling world. But Jim Cornette is very outspoken against anything that's a traditional style of wrestling. But when a traditional style of wrestling comes on the TV, such as, let's take Jack Gallagher, for example. When Jack Gallagher is, doing slower, is it called trap wrestling? I don't even know, Jim. Let me know in the comment section below. When they're doing more slow-paced, methodical moves, the crowd often nowadays in WWE is booing. They're bored. They're not paying attention. It's usually only during the high-flying spots. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you and agree with you that every match, you shouldn't have guys like the Usos, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose jumping to the outside, hurting their body for no reason. And I've been a long critic of that. But to say certain things kill a business, and especially when it comes to Joey Ryan, is absurd to me. Because wrestling, and wrestling fans know this, it's about telling a story. And the one thing that we take our frustrations out on nowadays is because the WWE really isn't telling good stories, right? They're just having either good matches, or they have crappy builds, but then, the pay-per-view is going to be good, or, the pay-per-view isn't really any good, but then the build-up to some things are good. There's so much pent-up frustration with us wrestling fans as we look for any little thing that basically says, this is the reason the business is dying. But here's the thing. There's a difference between killing the business and being a part of the business. If you are not in the WWE, if you are not booked to the biggest wrestling show in the world, WWE, and you're not in front of television to be in front of, possibly, through the amount of cable homes in the United States that USA is throughout the world, or any one of the WWE's broadcast partners, are you really killing the business if you're trying to make a name for yourself? Now, is Joey Ryan's sleaze character good for WWE PG? No. But that's also why he's not in WWE, well, for a variety of reasons. But if you look at it that way, then Joey Ryan is an independent contractor, just like every wrestler is. And every wrestler, and I know guys like Dave Meltzer and everybody hates this term, vanilla midget, you have to be unique. You have to do something. So Joey Ryan struck lightning with this thing that he found, and you're right. From a psychological standpoint, if you're trying to show somebody, you're trying to get him into real wrestling, and you have a guy like Joey Ryan using his dick and swaying people around the ring, yes, that would take away the legitimacy if your friend's trying to be like, yo, this is some serious wrestling, take a look at this, and then you got a guy going with his dick, and you see what's wrong with that. But at the same time, if you're on the independent scene, if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to make a living, if you're trying to put food on the table, and people are talking about it nonstop, you have guys like Jim Cornette crapping on it. You have guys like Vince Russo or other people just literally crapping on what he's doing, but it's bringing eyeballs to Joey Ryan. And Joey Ryan is getting booked on show after show after show after show. Lio Rush has exploded in, and he's pretty much headed to the Fed now. He's headed to the WWE. And I don't know if this was like a defiant act. I don't know if this was something planned. I don't know if it was just spur of the moment. I don't exactly know what went into this spot. But to say that you had wrestling legends tweeting out, like, what do you guys think? Did this kill the business? How? You know what I think it did? I think it made somebody talk about Lio Rush for, I think, 2 days straight, that it was just this huge topic about Lio Rush. Do you know who the winner of that was? Lio Rush. Now, I will say this. If he was in the WWE, and he was in front of millions and millions of people on TV, and he did that, he probably would get a lot of backstage heat for that. Another insider term. He would probably get people pissed off at him for doing things like that once he's in the WWE, but he's not in the WWE. Lio Rush is an independent contractor trying to make a living and build up a name for himself. You see guys every single week on WWE TV, ROH TV, anywhere around the world in independent shows, basically have great matches, and they're going out there and they're some of the best ring technicians, but you barely hear of them. But you got guys like Joey Ryan and Lio Rush do these crazy spots that people can't talk about, whether good or whether bad. They're talking about them, and there's a lot of wrestlers that would just like to be in the conversation. Some wrestlers would just like to be mentioned. So to say spots like this kill the business, in the words of Grimm's Toy Show, eat it, yeah. Because I don't know at what point you can honestly think that. Because if I'm a show and I have a draw, like, and I don't know the numbers behind Joey Ryan. There's a very good chance maybe Joey Ryan doesn't help add ticket sales. I think he does. I think Joey Ryan serves a purpose in the wrestling world. It's the same thing when people crap on Colt Cabana for being a comedy wrestler, because you can't have comedy wrestling. Why not? In today's day and age with WWE, you can be the best wrestler in the world. 205 proves it. They have some of the best wrestling, but there's nothing that grabs onto you. People were more upset by the fact that 205 Live wasn't canceled instead of Talking Smack, because people were more invested into Talking Smack. Because at the end of the day, it's not always just about the wrestling. It's about the people, and it's about the stories. And you're right, psychology is one of the biggest things in wrestling, because without psychology, they would just be acrobatic, people doing people be doing acrobatic shit in a ring for no reason. So I 100% get the idea behind psychology, but guys, nobody's killing the business. If you're in front of millions of people on TV and it's your first time seeing, you have guys doing that and you're questioning, going like, well, how could that happen? Then maybe. But you're on the indies. You're in a place where you're just trying to make a name for yourself. These smaller companies, you have CZW, which I like CZW, but like death matches, death tournaments, that just doesn't appeal to me anymore. Like, I watched the Vice documentary, and what those guys put themselves through for the crowd's enjoyment, because those fans are so bloodthirsty and blood hungry. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's the kind of shows they put on. But to me, it's like, you're doing all of that for what? I mean, seriously, look at what all the guys from the past generation, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s did. A lot of those guys didn't do the super high spots like they do now today. And look at some of those guys' bodies, the condition, their shape that they're in. And now you guys got people going out and doing these super high flying moves every single night for the business. And yeah, they're selling tickets right now. People are loving them. But what's going to happen to their bodies? And that's part of the thing that worries me, is the amount of work people are putting in just to get noticed, because there's so many wrestlers, there's so many schools, there's so many people that want to be in the position that so many of these guys are in. But the one thing that I can tell you is there's wrestling for everybody. Whether you want to see slow, methodical, psychological wrestling with stories built in, whether you want to see high, fast-paced action like 205 Live, whether you want to see whatever you're into, there's always something for somebody. And to say one match on a card killed the business, definitively, to make that statement, it's asinine, and that hurts the business more than anything. To see everybody inside of the business arguing about what's hurting the business, when the truth is, maybe people's habits, maybe people's interests have just changed. You don't always have to look for something to blame When it comes to why there's less ticket sales with WWE, we look and say, well, it's Roman Reigns' fault that they're not selling tickets. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. God, by Vince McMahon only giving John Cena and Roman these shots, they're killing the business, which is, again, asinine. Because when you're in control, you do what's in your best interest. Now, I don't know personally anything backstage between Joey Ryan. Like I said, I don't know if he adds ticket sales. I don't know if he's like the biggest draw. But the one thing that I do know is he's making a name for himself. Guys like him and LIO Rush are putting food on the table for their families. They're going out there, they're earning a living. Now, there's some that may say, yeah, but look what they're doing. And my simple response is, who cares? Who cares? If you're in the independent world right now and your goal is to eventually, and I'm sure a lot of wrestlers want to win the championship. They want to be on TV. Whether they say it or they don't, they want to be in WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, GFW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Noah, whatever. You want to be competing in front of a crowd. You want to feed that feeling, the adrenaline. You want to be there. And people are going to do what they think it'll take. Some superstars will be yes men. They'll just go out there and do exactly what they're told. Some superstars will push the boundaries. Imagine if Stone Cold Steve Austin never pushed the boundaries. Stuff that Stone Cold Steve Austin did back then, that's stuff that people would be saying now that he's killing the business. But back then it worked. Stuff today, we don't know what's working because his WWE numbers are going down, down, and down. And you got guys on the indies doing crazier and crazier stuff. There is not one thing to pinpoint whether this is hurting the business or whether this is helping the business. So wrestling fans, please stop arguing over asinine things that don't matter. I get it from a wrestling, especially if you're a trained wrestler, which I am not. I can't sit here and pretend that I have any actual weight in anything related to wrestling. Hell, I just play the video game for a living. But when it comes to me personally, I think the one thing that's hurting the business more is the fact that everybody that likes the business fights about every little thing. And my friends tell me all the time, they're like, who cares? They're like, yeah, I saw those guys arguing on Twitter about this and this. You're like, who cares? I just want to watch the show. So there's going to be people that buy tickets to see just Joey Ryan. There's people that are going to buy tickets to see LIO Rush do crazy shit. There's going to be people that buy tickets to watch Ethan Page, which if you don't know, he did the spot with ACH at Evolve where they went back and forth calling out reversals and they fell to the ground. There's going to be people that want to see Will Ospreay and Ricochet do these acrobatic moves back and forth and pop into position. It doesn't matter. When you're not in the WWE, when you're not in front of millions of people, when you don't have to answer to Vince McMahon, when you don't have to worry about one person controlling your future, you do what you think is best. And if you're putting food on the table, you're doing good for you. Because one superstar doing one move will not kill the business. All the wrestling fans that put up a fight and make it so before you could just turn on the TV, and especially during the heyday of WWE, why did people really get into Stone Cold Steve Austin? He was pushing against the authority. He was doing something that people wish they could do every day. Stand up to their boss, fight back, put up against them. The common person can relate to that. I still remember that going, oh my God, he's going to kick his boss's butt. And I'm thinking, man, if my mom did that, you know what I mean? That's something you can relate to. But now, what am I supposed to say? Like, yeah, he did that spot off of the ladder. My friend's like, I'm never watching wrestling again because of that one spot. I don't buy it and I don't believe it. So this rant may have been a little all over the place, but at the end of the day, guys, wrestling is wrestling, and we all watch for a variety of different reasons. I like some comedic wrestling. I like slow-paced wrestling. I like high-flying action. I like psychological wrestling. I like spot fests. Everybody likes something different, and one thing on a card of how many ever matches won't kill the business. It may hurt their chances to get signed somewhere. It may hurt their chances to draw money. It may help their chances to draw money. It may even make them more money in the long run. But at the end of the day, to pinpoint saying one thing killed the business, that's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. And that's coming from me. And I'm pretty stupid, so. Until next time, it's your boy Tubby Emu. Thank you, and let me know in the comment section below. Do you think guys like Joey Ryan, guys like LIO Rush who do these crazy spots, are they hurting the business, or does it really even matter? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, it's your boy Tubby Emu, and we'll see you all later.